meeting of the Manchester Essex School Committee. That's my gavel. How do you like it? Okay, we're going to try to keep on a timeline here tonight. I can't remember if I brought my... So first off, I see we have some visitors. Thank you for coming. We're going to open it up to public comment. And I think, will you guys let us know what you want to talk about?
I'm here for the late bus issue to Essex.
Okay, perfect.
I'm here to discuss Brewster Fawn and John Willis.
Okay. Why don't we open it up then? But I do want to let you guys know we're going to kind of try to time bound it. There are not
Sure.
a lot of you here, so I think we'll be okay. Maybe 10, 15 minutes. Is that okay?
Sure.
Each?
No, not each.
Okay.
Why don't you guys go ahead, and it would be helpful if you'd introduce yourself, say where you're from, you know.
Do I have to stand up and all
You
that?
don't have to stand up.
Okay.
You're on camera then.
I mean,
For all the students,
how's it going? Channel 5. My name is Emily Allen. I am a resident of Essex. My daughter's in 7th grade here, so this is our second year at the regionalized school. Obviously, in Essex, it's pretty much everything is in walking distance, or you have the ability to pick up your kid from a friend's house or whatnot, just because it's like Manchester, it's close-knit. They make their friends over those 5 years, and so that's fine. But now that we're in a different town, it's not really that easy. So the late bus is something that myself and a ton of other people really depended on. So obviously every single issue, every single person, every family is going to have a different reason why they like the late bus. My daughter had a really, really hard time understanding that everything was going to be on her. You know, the teachers weren't going to do necessarily everything for her to kind of, hey, what about this? Keep your eyes on this. So during the second quarter, we used the late bus every single day for extra help with teachers. And it was like amazing. But when we got past that, then it was sports. And when we got past that, you know, it was just really awesome that there were these two options for them to come home at 3:30 and 4:30. I'm a single mom. I work full time. You know, even there's people that are not single parents that are fully, you know, stay-at-home parents, and they still can't get over here. So there's tons of issues, there's tons of personal problems that tie into it, but I guess my main concern is why is it that we have, as a town, two towns, agreed to combine and regionalize and kick butt together, but we can't take care of both towns. It's very dropped ball. It's very kind of like rude and insulting that our kids are going to just be dropped at the elementary school whenever the bus gets there, and then that's it. They're not bringing them home depending on who's on the bus and what time it is and this and that, and there's one option per day. So all the Essex kids that did the play, they have to find a ride or they can't do the play. It's like total BS because the plays are awesome. And it's really like a big letdown. I mean, aside from the fact that, you know, I read some wordage or verbiage, whatever you want to say, that the late buses are not necessarily for athletic activities. Fine, I'm totally okay with that. But when my kid needs help after school, but I can't get to her because I'm driving back from Saugus, like, what am I supposed to do? Jump on Facebook? Because we had to make a Facebook page for rides for our kids for back and forth to the school to Essex. Like, why are we as the parents having to do this? Why are we not being provided for? We pay too much money in taxes for us to not have our kids have the opportunity to have extra time at school and still get home. And I feel like it's kind of just not a big deal to a lot of people. Maybe I don't want to like call anybody out because I don't know everybody's situation and I don't know the budget and I don't know the details. I'm just here as one of those people that really need an explanation more than what has been given, more than just like a happy email, because it's not really a happy situation trying to say, sorry, dude, you can't do the mountain biking club because you can't get home in time to watch your sister before I get home. That sucks, you know? So I just want some explanations. As far as that goes, I guess, so I can take back to the masses and kind of give a little bit of an answer of somebody that needs it. Just, I don't know. I don't know how these things work, so just tell me what you can tell me and we'll go from there.
Thank you for
Yeah.
letting us know, and thank you for speaking in front of the
Sure.
camera. It's not fun. So you brought up a lot of issues, and I'm going to try to address them.
Okay.
But the first thing I think we kind of want to talk about is the cost.
Okay.
You said you don't know how the budget works. That's
Right.
cool. It's very complicated. Trust me. We have a huge budget shortfall because of a huge healthcare hit over the last couple of years,
Which means what?
to the tune of $1.5 million.
No. I'm not worried about money, but
We had 10 catastrophic cases that our health insurance had to pay for.
Okay.
So they passed the cost back on to us.
Okay.
Just like if you had if you had a case in your family that you weren't expecting, somebody very, very sick, a lot of healthcare bills.
Okay.
Same thing, but magnified.
Sure.
Those kinds of things, usually happen maybe 1 or 2 of them a year. We kind of reserve for that. We hope we don't have to deal with that. But when you have 10 at once. So we had a number of, we had a lot of huge costs. And we had to basically close a huge budget gap. And when we looked at decisions we didn't really want to make, that aren't fun to make, one of them was that bus. And that decision was made, let me finish.
Sure.
That decision was made because we looked at the ridership. And basically, when you look at the ridership over, the last year or so, very few kids were using that bus. I'd say on the high end, maybe 14 kids were using 2 buses, but that was not on a consistent basis and wasn't the same 14 kids. So we had to look at things to cut that we didn't want to cut that would have the least effect on the least number of people. That was one of those things. And we telegraphed it pretty clearly throughout the course of the year.
Yep.
This is something that might get cut if you don't use it.
Right.
The ridership never went up. It wasn't a decision we wanted to make, but when we talked about closing some of these gaps.
Yeah, I remember I read that
Yeah.
whole report about all the different things that the budget went to. I do remember reading
Yeah,
that.
and
I think
none
it
of
really
those-
sucks though that that was what was chosen. Because I mean, you know what? Like just like
To be honest with you, Emily, we're not at a point where we got a lot of low-hanging fruit. We run a pretty tight ship here. So when we're looking at things we have to cut, it's decisions we don't want to make. These are things we don't want to cut.
I don't know. I mean, the town of Essex really feels like, I mean, I'm not speaking for everybody, don't get me wrong, but it's just, it feels very pinpointed.
I understand. You want to go ahead?
So just to give you some context of the other things that were cut, we took staff cuts of $354,000. So that's people that we didn't hire back, people that were retiring. We didn't hire teachers back. So I think that's probably like 4 or 5 teachers.
Okay.
Okay. We reduced spending in capital things over the summer. So we weren't fixing things in the buildings over the summer to the tune of $60,000.
But there's a new school coming.
Yep, but this was stuff, we have to maintain this building in Essex Elementary because we
Yeah.
want to make sure we keep that building going,
Yeah.
right? So, hiring cap, what was that? That was like, you want to explain that one?
Yeah, sure. We tried to hire people who had 5 or less years of experience to keep the starting salaries down. And we tried to recoup $30,000.
Okay.
So all told, we cut $575,000 out of this budget.
Yeah.
And it hurts.
Yeah.
I'm a working parent, 4 kids in Essex.
Right.
Some of them took the late bus and some of them, hitched rides.
Right.
But I understand that people need the late bus.
Yeah.
The issue is that we're facing right now is 3:30, 4:30. If kids are sticking around after 3:30, from 3:30 to 4:30, we've got to pay somebody to be watching them.
Uh-huh.
So all the things we thought we'd save, we're not going to save.
So you don't want the kids to stay at the school?
The kids, if
We
the kids
do, but
stay at
they
the
have
school,
to be
we have
supervised.
to pay somebody to watch them.
Right,
a
like
liability.
teacher.
Yeah.
Like for extra help.
Yep.
So-
No, not for extra help.
It's
This
beyond
would
the
just be
extra
like,
help.
Because
Good.
the late bus is not for athlete.
Athletics, right.
So, I mean, what else would they be here for? To
Right,
hang
so
out?
Joanne's been trying to take all the inputs and come up with a schedule that does, I think, what you're trying to get at, which is let kids stay after for basic teacher clubs, extra help, which is why she picked the 3:30 time.
Yeah. Which
And
is
then
great. I mean,
on
I
Friday,
am
she tried
appreciative.
to move all of the STEM club goes to 4:30 in
Yeah.
a cappella, so they put that on Friday. So
Yeah.
those teachers, and Wednesday came out because teachers can't do after-school help on Wednesday because they're in meetings.
Right.
So she thinks she's got a schedule that's gonna work for most people.
Okay. So if there's only, sorry to cut you off,
No,
I
it's
just
okay.
don't want to forget. So if there's only those, like you said, 14 at the most, then why are we not able to drop them off at their bus stops?
That's another issue. I'm glad you brought that up. So I think what both buses had typically been doing and what they were supposed to be doing is going to Essex Elementary. We did not realize that the bus driver was taking it upon himself to drop the kids off, wherever they needed to go. The intention of that bus was and always has been to go to Essex Elementary. And I think in the most recent past, there's been kind of an executive decision made behind the wheel.
That. I mean, the whole entire year she took it, and I mean, he's always been awesome and dropped her off
So
right where he.
Some of the confusion
should
that
be.
came out from this week is Joanne called when she got the feedback to make sure she had her story straight, and the bus company said the route goes to Essex Elementary, and that's
Okay.
why she put that in her email.
So,
So-
he drops off on the way.
So I got on the phone with the bus company, and Avi, who can't be here tonight, you've
Yeah.
been getting emails from him because he oversees
Yes.
transportation.
Yeah.
And talked to Maureen at Salter and said, so we've got two different stories here.
Yeah.
What's happening? So, well, it's supposed to go to Essex Elementary, but I'm getting the sense that that's not how it's actually been operating.
Yeah.
So in talking with the driver, she learned that he has been doing a modified
Yeah.
route. So
I mean,
her compromise was
can we
that
do
we'll
that?
get them as close to their, end of the street. So not door-to-door service, because they
Yeah.
don't do door-to-door
Which
service.
is fine. I mean, the bus stops are not set up that way anyway.
And they're setting up to do one bus for the whole town, so they're gonna try to do it at the closest intersection or end of street, so the kids are in pretty close walking distance.
And that's great. I mean, if I can walk out of here knowing that this whole, all the kids are going to be dropped at one spot, because, let's think about it. It's New England. It's 4:30 on a Friday night. I mean, granted, it's Essex. Crime's pretty low. But when there's snow and when it's dark and when it's cold, dark, and late. You know what I mean? So can we at least try and nix the whole dropping the kids there if my bus doesn't go? Yeah, I'm saying
Maureen to agree to that.
but so that's gone. The Essex Elementary drop.
That note we got yesterday that came from Avi and Joanne
Yeah,
says they're going to drop the kids at
the
end of the street
Okay.
or the closest major intersection
Okay, I did
to
see
get
that,
them
but I
as
wasn't
close to
sure.
home as possible, but
Yeah.
not replicate the two major routes all afternoon.
In the morning.
Okay.
So I guess what Maureen learned from the driver, and I guess, good for the driver, maybe better if they're communicating with their boss the
Yeah.
whole time, so we don't all get caught in the
I
middle
think
of
it's a
it.
different driver though. So
Okay, and
right?
I don't know if, they've been short drivers, which is not helped that the turnaround time for getting questions answered hasn't been quick. So it feels like we get an update, we get an email out, we get another update.
And
So
then
it's
it
been a little,
changes.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a little stunted. So I think the compromise was Essex Elementary will still be a stop,
But not the stop.
but not the stop.
Okay.
And then he'll do a survey of who's on the bus and get them to the closest spot that he can next to their house.
Okay.
That
So-
means bus run could be short one day,
Yeah.
a little longer the next. So I don't think that we can fix that piece of it
No,
and
I
still
think
try
that
to get
I think
people
that
close.
that's better.
So
And I
Emily,
think-
as the solution, I'm sorry I want to keep us going so the Del Rosarios can speak too. So the solution that we've tried to come up with is doing the 3:30 Monday, Tuesday, no Wednesday because there are no teachers and there will be no extra help because they're in meetings, Thursday, and a 4:30 bus Friday to accommodate all of those late clubs.
Yeah.
So if you would go back and talk to the masses that you just referenced,
Yeah.
is that something that people can make work?
Yeah,
Because
so I
within,
definitely bring
let me
it up,
finish.
yeah.
Within that framework,
Yeah.
we still need to come up with cost savings.
Right.
We still need to be able to close the gap on this budget.
Well, that's like some things, I know maybe it has nothing to do with the size of the bus, but is there a van? Is there a smaller bus? Is there something else so that we can utilize the money that is budgeted towards our late bus to feel a little bit more able to do these after school activities, clubs, extra help, so that our kids can get back to Essex?
So that's where we are right now.
Okay.
We are enabling the extra help on those days, and we are enabling the clubs. We moved all of those clubs to Friday so that we could accommodate one bus, so that we could get everyone home.
Really?
Yeah, so all of the late clubs
Are
are
on
moved to
Friday.
Friday.
Acapella
Yeah.
and STEM were the two that Joanne had mentioned.
No kidding.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know that part, which is awesome.
Yeah,
to
so
learn.
if you
So
could communicate that,
Yeah.
so we really are trying, we really,
Yeah.
we get where
Yeah,
you
this
are.
needs to be like written in like layman's terms
It-
and like sent to email to
It
people.
did go out, it's gone out several
No,
times.
But sometimes
Totally
it's
read
buried in
everything.
an email.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's many points in an
Sometimes it's in a
email.
click.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Maybe
Sometimes
get
we don't
people-
read them all.
Not that we want to bombard poor Joanne, but Joanne, if you're at the middle school, she has the
Yeah.
real answers.
Yeah.
Because, like, if somebody picks it up on Facebook and then calls me, and then I talk to Joanne, and then by the time it gets
Yeah.
back, it's not as detailed as she knows your
Yeah.
child, and
Yeah.
she knows what clubs you're talking about and what your actual need is, so
Right.
she can kind of give you the customized answer of here's how it's going to work for
Yeah.
you, here's how it might not work for you.
Okay.
And I think she was just going to try to keep an eye on things and see how is it working. Do
So
we need to make other
October
adjustments?
2nd meeting, is that something that I could come back and revisit with? Or is it gonna be the same
Yeah,
setup?
Joanne will be here. Tricia Puglisi will be here, but we've only heard from one person at the high school,
Okay.
so it seems to be manifesting itself at the middle school
Yeah, for
primarily,
sure.
which is why we've made some of the juggles that we've made.
Okay.
Ann Avi will be here, who he speaks most frequently with Salter.
Okay.
So we're working on it. You know, we're trying. We know
Yeah.
everyone has needs. We also, I hate to harp on the budget, but I mean, that is
Yeah, I mean,
unfortunately what's driving
get
all
that.
of this.
But
Um,
you know, it feels a little bit like, you
Yeah.
know.
You can
But
call us,
you-
and
but
it
you
probably
should-
will feel less.
But you should know that there are
No.
folks in Manchester
We
who
don't have a bus
bus.
here. We don't
Yeah.
have a late bus.
Well, I know, but that's what I was saying. I mean, I led off with that. If our school was in Essex, hey, fend for yourself, get yourself home because you're in town. No, I understand that. That's what I'm saying. Is there's different opportunities.
Or a mile and a half out.
Yeah.
You actually have to pay for the regular bus service.
I know that.
So, you know,
Yep.
there is a kind of give and take here. So are you feeling a little bit better about it?
I mean, I don't know if feeling better. I wasn't like
Do
feeling
you-
down about it. I mean, I've gotten some points across. I hope that you've also taken the things that I've said, because it's like for real, you know. Because I don't think like anybody wants to be like up in arms about anything. We just want it to go smoothly, and obviously change is like intense. Okay, especially when it's like with our kids. So we just want to make sure that
We're hoping to work with everyone.
Yeah.
We're also hoping that everyone understands where we're coming from.
Right.
We're not in a place where, you know, we've got all this extra, you know, fluff hanging around the budget.
It's just
We're-
hard
we're
to hear
cutting
like
at the bone.
budget. Oh, budget. It's hard.
It's hard
hear
to say
that
it.
constantly about things that are like no longer the same. It's the budget, and it might be true. Not saying it's a lie or anything. It's just hard to hear that without hearing the rest of the explanation.
Do me a favor.
Maybe.
Tell your selectmen.
Yeah, I don't know who it is.
No, go
I'll
to
find you.
I'm sure you will. Tag me.
If you tell your selectmen, and this is really more of a Manchester message, but if the school budget means something to you,
Yeah.
tell your selectmen that you support it, because we get pushback
Mm-hmm.
from the towns. We're not getting any more money from the towns because they need us to stay in a certain
Yeah.
parameter.
I just feel like if I have 6 more years of this, like, oh crap, I can't get her to Manchester. Like,
Yeah,
it's
we're-
just gonna eat
We're
away
trying
at
to
us.
work with everybody.
Yeah.
We really are. And I'm sure more people will show up on October 2nd. So thank you
Yeah.
for coming, and thank you for letting us know
Thank
kind of
you.
where you are. It's helpful just to have a conversation
will.
sometimes. That said,
And call.
I will.
that said,
Thank
Nicole,
you.
do you want to?
Sure. All right, I'm Nicole Del Rosario. I have one child in the school system now, choiced the other one out due to unprofessional behavior by administration. I'm here to ask a couple questions. I sent out a few emails in June with these same questions. I got stonewalled. I had a meeting with John Willis, and I will quote, what he told me when I asked about the booster-thon. You'll find out the details in September when everyone else does. Well, I got 2 emails so far about this booster-thon. Neither one of them portrayed 8 days of a program taking over the entire school, disrupting lunch, being there before school, being in my daughter's classroom, and being there after school, calling themselves like Pat Man Pat, and let's raise money for the PTO all day long during the academic day. So my first question is, why did nobody answer me? Why, when I asked the PTO for minutes, as I was instructed to do so, am I told they don't take minutes and I can't get any information, and I'm directed to a generic email that clearly is a sales tool to sell this program? And why is it taking place over 8 days during the academic school day with children that are aged 11 and under being forced and pressured to raise money?
Good questions. I'm actually going to defer to John because I don't know any of the answers, and I would love to hear a little bit more about the booster-thon.
Probably easier just to give an overview to start.
Yeah,
so,
please do.
So our PTO raises funds every year in the neighborhood of 15 to 20.
What's the PTO stand for?
Parent-teacher organization.
I didn't hear student listed in there.
Let him
Yeah.
talk and explain it to us, okay? Thank you.
So they raise between $15,000 and $20,000, and their money is broken up into 2 pieces. It all comes back to the school, so they have their enrichment programs. So when we have the Tanglewood Marionettes come in, or if we have a couple years ago we had Rob Surratt, the hero artist, come in. Any of those kind of above and beyond curriculum enhancements, Museum of Science, Plymouth Plantation will come in and do presentations. That's part of where their money goes. And then the other part goes to, they call it teacher mini grants. So if a teacher has an idea that's kind of progressive and doesn't maybe fit, fall within our budget, the teacher can write a grant to the PTO, and the PTO will fund that if they're able to. Excuse me. So they've tried a number of different ways to raise money over the years, and it's never easy. They're depending on the approach that they take. Some people love it, some people don't. Some people participate, some people don't. They've done things such as direct soliciting, where they just ask parents to write a check. They've done gala type fundraisers. They hit the street for Little Feet fundraiser. So anyway, this year they came to me and said, there's this program. It's called Booster-thon, and we would love your support so that we could give it a try and see if it's a good fit for us for our fundraising. And based on the predictions, it would raise all of the money that they would need for the whole year. And so, in an effort to be supportive of the PTO because they do so much for us, I said, yeah, let's, we can give it a try. We met, I think it was the last day of school or second to last day of school. Yeah, and you should provide some really good feedback, and so I kind of adjusted things a little bit based on the feedback. So what I've asked the program to do differently than maybe they do in other places is the Booster-thon people that are here. They are not going into the classrooms, so they are popping in at lunchtime to give an update on fundraising to the kids, and they have different fun challenges for the kids. But that's all done during lunchtime, and I've asked them to be really sensitive about the fact that the kids on paper have 22.5 minutes to eat lunch, so it can't be this big production. So they're in there for about 5 minutes, and it's funny, they're encouraging the kids to say, hey, keep eating as we're talking, that kind of a thing. And then the piece that's in the classroom.
Wait, I thought you just said they weren't in the classroom.
So they're not. The
Okay.
people aren't. But the piece that's in the classroom is it's not just a fundraiser. Part of what you get with the package is a character education program. So they teach different character traits, positive character traits like citizenship and integrity. And there's a video series that they provide to us that is about those character traits. So today was Zest. Tomorrow's growth mindset, which is interesting because that's a big theme at our school,
Yeah.
Growth Mindset, and they're also STEAM themed. So there's about a 5 to 7 minute video that the teacher showed during morning meeting that talks about the character traits. It's not really talking about the fundraising. It's about the character traits. So that's kind of an add-on bonus to the program. So students can get donations and pledges, and the pledges are typically per lap. The culmination is a fun run. So it's on September 25th, and they have they set up a track, 2 tracks actually on the turf, and they have a DJ and a big balloon tunnel that the kids all get announce and run out, and then there's 30 to 35 laps that the kids can participate in, and they're themed laps, so they might have a song that has to do with fire, and so the lap is like they go around the track as if like they're walking on fire, or they're hopping or skipping, and it's all themed to music. So very similar to the Pennies for Patients program that we've done in the past. That's been a real big hit with parents and families. Similar to our field day that we do, the aspect of the fun run itself hits about 6 to 8 of our wellness standards. So it ties right in with our wellness curriculum, and then obviously the character education piece ties into our core values. So it was something that seemed like it might be a good fit. Some of the teachers, their children have done it at their school, and they had really positive things to say about it. So we figured we would give it a try for a year. I can't sit here and tell you right now that it's the most amazing thing or the worst thing. We're kind of evaluating as we go and looking for feedback from people. And if it's not a fit for us, then it's not a fit for us. But I thought that it had enough upside and enough positive things, enough positive aspects to it, and then also the fundraising component, that it seemed like it was worth giving it a try and evaluating. And if it's not for us, it's not for us. But we're just not sure yet.
This is driven by this is initiated as a fundraising effort by the PTO volunteers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And, sorry, I was just going to say, there's usually some sort of program. I know they've done the galas before, they've done silent auctions, the rest is usually some sort of activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they were to hit the goal, it's the exact number of what their budget is usually for the year. So all of that other stuff could be less. And maybe some of those things would just be more like fundraisers, like maybe do the hit the street for a little fee or whatever it is, but it's more just a community building activity as opposed to being something where there's all the fundraising component.
When does it end? Like, when are they out of the school?
So
it started and ended
Tuesday.
Yeah, so we had a pep rally to kind of kick things off and explain it to the kids last Friday. And then there are 2, and you kind of described it, they're kind of, cheerleader types that are in the building helping out. They'll help teachers make copies. They're high-fiving the kids when they come in. I think the big thing that seemed like a big pro was the spirit, the school spirit, kicking off the school year with kind of fun and excitement. And if I'm being totally honest, we're really good at being serious and hitting standards and having rigorous expectations for the kids, and we probably could be a little better at having fun, So and that was kind of evident in the pep rally. We're not really used to doing this kind of a thing. So anyway, sorry to answer your question. So the 2 people from Boosterthon are on campus through this week, and the next Tuesday is the actual fun run. And during that time period is when kids can get pledges.
And can we be flexible? I mean, I think I love the whole school spirit thing. I think we do need more of that.
Yep.
Where you, and I don't know how much you want to talk about this. Like,
I want to give it another 5 minutes or so.
I mean, the place where you lose me a little bit is having them in at lunch period.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's, and I just.
My child's been isolated
I'm just
all week.
talking to him. Okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry. It really bothers me. She's isolated.
Nicole.
So
I'll get to you in just a second.
I just think having, like, that should be their downtime, and
Yep.
just, so to me, it feels a little bit like corporate-y.
Yep.
So jump in, anybody else.
I just had a question.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious about this program. So I'm wondering how they make their money because they're not coming in and doing this for free. Are there ads in the videos that they're watching?
No, no.
So how does...
There's a split. So the company gets a
They just
certain
get a
percent
cut.
and the PTO gets a certain percent.
Okay, Annie, I want to give you one last question.
Because I had my
Nicole?
hand up.
Yeah.
So I'm a kid
Yeah.
in your school and my parents may not be participating.
Yeah.
Do I know, like, how do I know, or am I just doing things with everybody else and I wouldn't even know? I mean, I just had to.
Yeah, no, so so for example, if there's a goal of, you know, if, I'm trying to think of an example. They had, so last night they had the top fundraising class got extra recess. And so Ms. Garofalo's class was the top fundraising class, so the whole class gets extra recess. So it's not something where it's, oh, you know, you raised $500 last night, so we're going to, you know, celebrate that.
So there's no, a kid wouldn't know that.
You're not singled out at all.
No, no, and it's, you know, it's optional. I've talked to the teachers about downplaying it, you know, because kids hear, you know, prizes. You know, the reason that they do so well with Pennies for Patients is they're very motivated by challenges. And so I've asked the teachers just to really downplay that. The program is inclusive. So if what they explained to me was if you have a child that's in a wheelchair who can't do the laps, let's say, they have other options for that day. So they can maybe be the guest DJ, or they can mark laps, or you know, help handing, you know, things out as the event gets started. Whatever works for them that they're comfortable with. So it's entirely optional, and it aims to be inclusive of all of the kids.
Okay. Nicole, you had some questions you wanted to ask?
Yeah. Can you tell me what exactly the school district and you are teaching students, which is suggesting duct taping yourself in a gorilla costume to the school flagpole, and how that's appropriate on a professional level as the role model of the school?
So one of the aspects of the program, and this could not be further out of my comfort zone, is to have principal challenges. So one is if they earn, if as a school we're able to get one donation from every state, that's one challenge, and the other one is if they reach the fundraising goal. And so we put it out to the kids and kind of let them vote on. So we had two assemblies. The K-3 assembly was or K-2 was the group that voted on what the incentives would be.
So they just made them up? There were no guidelines? They just said?
No, we kind of, you know, they give you some ideas.
Okay.
And, you know, one of the teachers said, oh, you know, my son's fun run is today, and his principal is dyeing their hair because they reached their goal. So I think the options that they voted on was duct taping, the dyeing hair, being slimed, and there was a fourth one that
Ice bucket? No.
I forget what the fourth one was.
So these were the younger kids?
Yes.
So what did the older kids say?
Well, so the younger kids voted.
Yeah.
And they voted on the 5th grade. So actually the younger kids voted on me being slimed if they hit the 50 states, and then the duct tape. And so when we talked to the older kids about it, one of the 3rd graders said, hey, Mr. Willis, if we meet both of our goals, can we do the slime while you're on the flagpole? And I said, sure, why not? That sounds pretty clever that you put those two things together. And he said, how about in a gorilla suit? And I said, I don't know. I'm going to be on a flagpole anyway. It's so far outside of my comfort zone. I don't have a gorilla suit, but if somebody does, sure, why not? You
Maybe
know?
a hornet suit would be.
Hornet suit,
better.
yeah. So I don't know what the.
Duct taping people to a pole is completely inappropriate. That speaks volumes to children. When they win a competition on their own, are they going to go duct tape their friend to a tree because you showed them how to do it?
You asked the question, Nicole. I was going to say, I'd like to just understand this because there are many things. I remember it was the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. There are things, people are doing some of these, and I agree, it's outside of comfort zone, but I don't think it's done with disrespect.
It certainly wasn't.
For you, gorillas.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was honestly a little boy who had an idea, and he's kind of one that doesn't usually speak up, especially in front of the whole school. And So, you know, in the moment I did think for a second, like, okay, is this like, you know, but it you know, like I said, you know, it's certainly not, this is not like my, you know, typical, you know, day at work, let's go get, you know.
Slime.
Yeah. So. in
So
any
it
way,
all kind of came about as,
That's how it
It's not
evolved, yeah.
uncommon.
yeah.
Head shaving, dyeing of the hair, pies, the duct taping to the wall. I just Googled it out of curiosity. It's a common thing. Now, if we'd agree as a community that we don't want to do that, but I don't know that that's necessarily the feedback that John's getting. I mean, we did the big pie to the face thing here at the middle school not too many years ago. The kids absolutely loved it, and nothing was raised as a concern at that point.
That was actually the fourth one, and I actually
Pie in
felt like
the
that
face.
was,
That was
that was a little
Steve.
degrading, you know, so, in any
Yeah.
event.
So,
This doesn't look like fun.
in the interest of kind of moving along, Nicole, I'll give you one more. We kind of need to move things along.
So will you be giving back lunch to the students with no interaction from the Booster-thon people moving forward? So my child can join her class and not be isolated from the entire school to eat her lunch? Because she sat alone today with no friend.
Well, so, I think what she's, I don't know if it's appropriate to.
Yeah, I
You
don't
guys
wanna
are
get-
getting out of
Nicole,
policy.
Nicole, on
Yeah.
camera, we don't want to address individual situations for privacy reasons. You as a parent can bring up your child in a meeting, but we can't discuss it legally.
Okay, will the Booster-thon people be removed from the lunchroom moving forward?
I don't know that that's something that's been discussed.
Is that a school committee?
That's right, this is,
Yeah,
for
this-
future, I would
so-
just,
This is not something I'm comfortable
if I
I
talking
may-
tried to get this
about.
info in June.
And I think you raised some interesting questions, but it's kind of in the middle between, we don't sanction PTO fundraisers. So I completely understand why John is supporting the PTO and they're going forward with this, and I think he's been very open to feedback. It looks, I'm sensing that it's relatively positive in a general sense, but you're all evaluating it as we go. I think the question going forward is, when PTO, we've never really questioned PTO fundraisers before, nor have we approved or nor denied them. So is that something we want to look at in terms of your policy? Like if the school brought this forward or the kids brought it forward, it would be looked at several different levels.
So when you look at the policy, because I just looked it up, the policy is that the principal approves fundraising. I don't want the school committee to be getting in the middle of stuff that is happening in schools that is the purview of the administration. That is not our role. We develop policy, the
but Annie,
district.
we approve curriculum. So to me, there is a fine line about having these people come into the classrooms. And they're not coming in, you said, but
Right,
they're
right.
watching a video. So, I mean, there is, and I get what you're saying, but there is a very, very fine line as to, an outside, for me, is,
Yes, and
right.
the administration should handle this.
So I guess if I could just say, just a
Yep.
quick piece, so, you know, with the lunchtime, because we did talk about this, right? Like that is their time. I was trying to keep it out of the classroom. We've tried to accommodate for students whose families might not want them to be a part of it, and giving that, you know, letting them have alternative lunch arrangements. But I'm happy to talk to the Booster-thon group and the PTO to see if there's a different way, so that, you know, going
Maybe
forward.
give them
Tomorrow's a
5
half
minutes at the
day.
beginning of a lunch and then,
I thought they only had 5 minutes.
They only have
I
5
thought they
minutes,
had 5
yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's the last day?
No, well, tomorrow's a half day.
Oh.
So it gives me a little bit of time to talk to them, and maybe there's a way we can do it differently with like an email to the teachers with an update, or a PTO Facebook post with the fundraising update.
What are the other schools that were doing it? You mentioned a couple of staff have this going on.
Yeah,
Their own kids
Amesbury
are-
just did it. Groveland did it, I think, last year. Hanover did it last year. That's the first time I saw or heard about it. Was so Hanover was where I was assistant principal, and there's a new assistant principal there, and they posted a video online because their principal's challenge is that they camped out on the roof of the school overnight.
Don't do
We
that.
don't
Yeah,
do that on
just like,
Memorial
I don't know if I
Day.
might fall through. So that was the first I'd heard of it, was there. So
And I just want to add, I went to the PTO meeting end of last week when they were I didn't know they were rolling this out there. I was
Yeah.
there for the school building project. And it was really good, and there were probably about 20 parents there, and not and they were talking about this, now it's all coming, it was all
Yeah.
about school spirit.
Yeah.
And I don't think there was one parent who, but granted, they didn't know probably all this, but they were all very excited about it. So just on that flip side.
There's no meeting minutes, and I was told in an email today by the PTO president that that was not an official meeting. The first one would be held October 2nd at 7:30 p.m., coinciding with the school committee meeting. She told me it was not an official meeting that you went to. In writing. That last one on Tuesday?
They'll have to change that.
Their breakfast. I thought it was an official meeting. I was invited, so I don't know.
Maybe it was just to preview your stuff,
Mm.
the building committee. All right, having said that, we do need to move it along. Okay?
But I will look into it and see if we can fix it for the rest
Yeah.
of the.
Can I
If
ask
you could
why
look
when
into
I
the
asked
lunch.
in June, you told me that you had no information to provide me? I emailed Pam, she responded with, "I'll look into it," and didn't respond, which seems to be the canned response from this school district.
There was an email that went out on July 10th, 2016. I would
It
suspect.
depicted one day of activity, a fun run, that was it. It did not make anything clear about them being in the classroom, being in the lunchroom, being there before school, and being there after school. And when is it acceptable to have 10 and 11-year-old and younger children raising money for a parent-teacher organization in their academic school day?
Well, the details were being worked out over the summer, and when we met at the end of the year, I think the very rough blueprint of a plan was that they were going to be going into the classroom. And after we met, I listened to your feedback, and you made some really good points. And so over the summer, I asked them, you need to revamp this, because I don't want people I don't want distractions and interruptions in the classroom. The kids are in there to learn, so the character ed lessons or videos that they're watching aligns with our goals and our curriculum that we're already delivering. So that felt like felt okay in the classroom. But I agree with you. I don't want them going into the classroom and saying, you need to, we're raising money and that sort of thing, because the classroom is sacred, so. So it was kind of coming together throughout the summer, and some emails went out from the PTO explaining things, but it wasn't quite fully baked in June.
I had no response from Pam once she looked into it.
Nicole, I
Yeah.
think this needs to go offline.
Yeah.
And I think you and Pam should probably have this conversation offline.
Talking to her, she doesn't answer emails, just the same canned response you gave me today. I'll look into it.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Consent agenda.
Motion to approve?
May I have a motion to approve the acceptance of warrants? Oh,
We're doing both, right?
doing
Minutes
both?
and warrants?
yeah.
So moved?
Second? Oh, you weren't here yet for second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Abstain.
Abstain?
Abstain, Julie
was not at that
abstains.
meeting.
Thank you. Okay. Motion carries with Julie's abstention noted. All right, so we're going to send them around to sign.
Oh, sorry, did my duty.
All right, subcommittee reports. Caroline and Annie.
We have a lot going on
Awesome.
with the school building project. We're leading up to the town meetings. The parent groups are doing a fabulous job. They have, just to give you a quick overview, last week I've gone to the Essex PTO, the 6th grade parent, the dump. They're at the dump every weekend, and Annie has established the office hours.
At
in
the dump?
Manchester. No, at the town hall.
I'm kidding.
Well, actually both, kind of. In Manchester, they're at the Memorial Open House, Thank You Ken. They did host 2 tours, but nobody showed up, unfortunately, for those. But we were there, ready for them. And then this upcoming week is pretty busy. Remco is going to the Rotary on Wednesday night in Manchester, and that's great because that's a night that they're bringing a guest, so hopefully they'll have more
That's at Beach
people
Street,
there.
right?
It's actually, it's at the Landing now,
Okay.
7 Central. Essex has their open house. There's a middle school PTO. In Essex, there's also the senior center lunch or breakfast, and there's the merchant group. So you can just give me a sense of like how much is
Yeah.
going on.
So are those individual members of the building committee going out?
Well, we have to start tapping into that a little bit. This is mostly the parent involvement from Manchester and from Essex. Those parent groups are going.
Okay.
in addition to myself and Annie or Pam.
So you, Annie, or Pam goes to speak to the details of the,
It depends on which one it is. Like I went to the PTO one, but you know, anything like in the town, we're trying to let the parents kind of who
Cool.
are knowledgeable. They've read the FAQs and the town meeting reports.
awesome.
A new one popped up, which was kind of cool, the Preschool Harvest Carnival, which I've never heard about. And that's Manchester and Essex.
Oh.
So they're going, we have to go. They're going on September
great.
22nd. And we're just really working on our messaging right now. Signs are coming that the parent group is doing. Anything else?
2 community meetings?
Two community meetings.
If I've been listening to my friend here to help us have a male voice in some things.
Mhm.
So that would be great.
Mhm.
We're just, as much as you can do to help us reach parents, that's where we need to.
Tell me about the community meetings. What are those dates?
The community meetings are September 26th and October.
9 and 7, and what we did this time was we flipped. On each day will be one in Essex and one in Manchester.
So that day's Manchester in the morning.
Manchester in the morning and Essex at night.
Yeah.
And then
9 and 7
on the 10th, it'll be Essex
in the
in the
morning.
morning and Manchester at night.
Okay. Oh, awesome. All
And
right.
the 26th is a Monday,
Nope,
No,
should be a Wednesday.
8 and 7.
9 and 7.
Well,
Today's the 18th.
It's next Wednesday.
no,
Okay.
September 26th and October 10, 9 a.m. and 7 p.m., right?
Yes.
I was asking how many days away it is, but
Oh.
It's next Wednesday.
Okay.
Smart computer should tell you that.
And that should be in the Cricket
it's the
this
whole math
week.
thing.
It's been on websites and all. and-
Yeah,
Okay.
I just need to post
Awesome.
it more, so thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
If
Anything you
anyone-
can do to get, if anyone has questions and they want us to come, we will come and talk to them, okay?
If
You
anyone
might-
thinks they're going to be, just before I forget, anyone thinks they're going to be posting or wants to use graphics of the building, Andy made a great catch, which is we had an older diagram
Yeah.
that was floating with for pre-K. So if you want them, just send me a note and I can send you the most
What's on
current
our
attachments.
MERSD website when you pull it up?
We have the old picture, we need to get the new picture
Okay,
up.
I noticed that, I thought it was pretty cool.
On Saturday, I think I caught them all, but I can
Okay.
double check.
Okay.
Okay, and you might have mentioned this in your rundown, but what about some of the older population? Are we getting to them?
Senior Center in Essex.
Okay, and the Rotary.
then The Rotary and then we are working on the Senior Center here in Manchester,
Okay,
reaching out to them.
okay. Maybe bring them some donuts or something.
Yeah, we like donuts.
No, I know, when we did the Boy Scouts, the Boy Scouts would go sing Christmas carols and brought
Mhm.
food, it was a
Yeah.
huge hit.
Yeah.
By the way, your banner on the bridge was passed last night.
Oh, it was, thank you. They
Yes,
emailed
plus
me.
they want more banners.
Oh, really? So they want to
Oh,
be
I
able to
haven't
use
seen
it?
that on
Because
the
they don't
bridge.
just want it on the bridge, they want it around town, so it doesn't appear that we're just appealing to one group, i.e. school parents.
Oh.
Are
Those
they willing to
banners
help
are
pay for it?
expensive.
Well, they're,
Maybe we could move
We'll talk
the
about that
banner
later.
around.
All right,
sure, send them. Gail approved us.
Gail said to.
Thank you, that's good to know. Thank you, thank you.
So Finance Committee, Annie, we've been very quiet. Pam,
Yes.
do we have any meetings brewing? Any
It's funny you
Thursday?
mentioned that.
Any
When I was
collaborative?
running off a copy of the cuts we had to make in the spring,
Yeah.
it dawned on me that we should probably get our collaborative meetings on the book for the next few months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if
Get
we could do
started,
one in
'cause-
early October, that would be
Yeah,
good.
and that's typically when we have our first one,
Yeah.
so it should fit right in.
Can I say one more thing about the building project? This is
Mhm.
more for people out there in TV land.
Millions
The
of fans.
Ipswich Y has agreed to do free of charge childcare the night of Essex's town meeting.
Oh, that's great.
And I have been
The
back.
Essex Youth Committee.
Youth Committee,
Yeah.
thank you. And I'm in touch with, I've been emailing back with Heather Snyder DePriest or whatever here to see if there's anything that we could do.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
that's in the works too.
Very nice, very generous of the EYC. to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's terrific, thank you.
Yeah.
Policy Committee, Ken,
We
you're
do
up.
not have any, they have not met. We have meetings scheduled for next Tuesday, I believe at noon, as well as 2 weeks after. And Pam has sent out an initial goal, but we have not yet met this week.
Okay. Negotiation team, Sarah Julie.
Looking forward to starting negotiations soon.
Okay.
I
When-
can report there's already been two healthcare subcommittee meetings
Great,
to work on their project so that we are on schedule for the year.
great. Do you guys have a meeting coming up?
First week in
First.
October, I think.
Okay, wow, October, rock and roll. Okay, moving on, superintendent's report. And the goals.
So I put a draft version of the goals in the packet.
It's easy, we're done.
I don't think, there's nothing new, was kind of my takeaway when I was doing them. It seems like we're continuing on some themes and projects from last year that just need to be brought to closure. So I think it's almost a repeat of what I probably said at this time last year. I think our biggest focus items are aligned between the committee and myself, which is coming up with a multi-year agreement for MEDA. I think that will be time-consuming, but I'm very optimistic that the discussions we had at the end of last year for schedule are going to be helpful on getting things done in a timely way. We're continuing with some outside analysis of the district, the high school, and this falls primarily on Tricia and the team there, but NEASC, which is the New England Association of School Accreditation, is going to be here to do an assessment of the high school. That'll give us some good feedback on where we want to go goals-wise. High school special education is on deck for this year, and then the whole district-wide compliance review under coordinated program, which is everything from special education to all of our civil rights compliance.
Okay.
So it's not a quality audit, it's a policy compliance audit. And actually both Allison and Julie have been doing preparation on that for a bit over a year now. So that'll be interesting. That'll be a very public document, and everything else, the other two will be reported out as well. Ruler is rolling, and I feel like my responsibility this year is to help Julie and the principals continue with the rollout, and my help is mostly through support and making sure we have the resources and structures we need to make it successful. I think everybody's on the same page there. And then a goal I felt like I needed to write down, because I've told Donna Smith we were going to do this, I don't know how many times now, but we need to reestablish our health and wellness committee, which went defunct after a couple of key retirements, and we just haven't got it back on the books. So that's in the works, and I think will be a nice way to corral all of the different social emotional, everything that fits under that umbrella under one oversight group. So that should be exciting. And I think we're starting to try to figure out, we had cultural proficiency in our goals a couple of years back, but maybe trying to recommit to that. My concern is taking on too many new things with the other large projects right now and not being able to do right by them. So it's there as kind of as a reach goal. But there's some interesting things we'd like to explore this year. ClearGov is also articulated so we don't lose track of it, and Avi's already started working on doing some of the data analysis. We've been ready to roll with that, but uncomfortable that we didn't have full command of all the data, so that we're working on a process for verifying that, but it will be ready to use during both the building project promotion and budget season.
Okay,
And then just the budget. We all know the budget situation. It's going to be another challenging year to close the gap. So making sure we can do that in a way that does hopefully no harm to the district will be a big part of our work. And then the building project. I don't think we need to go into detail about the building project. Bringing that to fruition would be a very exciting thing to accomplish this year. Other concerns, questions? The one thing on my goals that doesn't jive with your calendar for the year we can talk about later, which is I plugged in April 9th as the target date for us approving the overall contract. So we can just talk about either adding a meeting or backing it up to the 1st.
Is Dr. DeRoche officially Dr. Rowley?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just a minute. Just checking.
Okay.
And the Japanese educators are here tomorrow. Hope to see as many
Yes,
of you as
I'll be
possible.
here for lunch.
I think we've got the list of who's coming.
Okay. Lunch starts at noon?
Mm-hmm.
Here, downstairs? Okay. We are actually, I think, ahead of my budgeted time here.
Do you need a motion to approve your goals, or is that
No,
good?
I don't think so.
You can approve them. If you need me to edit them in any other way, any substantial way, you probably want to hold off. But if it's just typical things that I miss with my poor typing. I think we're fine.
Do you guys want to move ahead and approve them, or you want to look at them? Okay,
Sure.
may I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Okay, motion carries. Approved. Awesome, thank you,
Thank you.
Pam. John,
Hi.
hi.
How are
I didn't
you?
mean to keep you here
No,
so
that's
late.
okay. That's
so
okay.
let's
So
let it
school
rip.
improvement plan, yeah. So I
Are
just
we
wa-
okay working up the paper?
It's so archaic. I mean, we're not like a school or anything.
Okay.
All right.
So I just wanted to start off kind of leading into this by saying that the vibe and the energy at Memorial School, this is my 8th opening at Memorial School.
Is it?
Yeah, the vibe and the energy has never been as positive and as high energy. I think in the past, in the past 8 years. So we have some awesome new staff members that are bringing a lot of new ideas and energy. And then our incoming kindergarten class is just amazing. And I just kind of feel like we have, all the right pieces in the right places, and things are just really, really in a good place. So I love that, and whether it's by accident or not, that the template starts off with the whole child. I mentioned earlier, we're really good at the academic achievement side of things, and equally as important is the whole child. And it's it's becoming more and more important, I think, as we're kind of going into current and future times. So one of our core values at Memorial School is acceptance. And we have a program called Understanding Our Differences. That was something that we started in grade 3, and we expanded it to grade 4 last year, and then grade 5 this year. So it's a program where we have guest speakers come in and talk to the kids about different disabilities. So for example, we had a unit on, or a presentation I should say, on physical disabilities, and we had a Memorial School alumni who was injured in a skiing accident in his, I think, maybe mid-20s, and is paralyzed. So he came back and met with all of the kids in 3rd grade and talked about how, he was just like them, played sports just like them, played musical instruments just like them, sat in the same desks that they sat in, and something happened and his life changed, and he talked a lot about how he kind of turned that into a positive. And then he also did the same thing over at Essex Elementary. So we were able to expand that from grade 3 to grade 4 with different topics. Grade 4 was learning disabilities. So that's what we did last year. And it was actually really, really powerful. We had former Memorial School and Essex Elementary School middle and high school students come over to our auditorium and talk to the kids about what it was like for them when they realized that they had a disability, and how they, the obstacles that they face, and how they've kind of come to terms with what it means, and how it's also an ability because they have other special characteristics about themselves. And I have to tell you, like, one of the most powerful moments that I've experienced in that building was one of the students was speaking, and he was talking about some of the challenges, and how he just, when he was in elementary school, just didn't feel like he fit, and just didn't really, it didn't make sense to him. And this boy, who would never ever speak up and stand up, stood up and said, "I can so relate to you." And it was like, oh my God, was that just so-and-so? I can't believe he, so really, really connected with the kids, and that was the goal, but you never know if it's going to actually play out that way. So that's been a great add to the school. And then as far as anti-bullying goes, we use the second step curriculum. So teachers in grades K through 5 deliver those lessons. There's another organization called MARC out of Bridgewater State University, and they're really the kind of the pioneers, the front runners, the gold standard, so to speak, for anti-bullying training of the law and school responsibilities. They also have their own curriculum. And so our adjustment counselor, Laura Carlson, went down and went through their staff training. So she was trained as a trainer and came back and trained our staff. just a little more in depth around the law and investigations, and like the little things that aren't as obvious. Sometimes these things are really hard to kind of see through the weeds and find out what's actually going on. So that was something new that we did last year. Also talked a bit about cyberbullying. Let's see. And so then reaching all learners is another goal area for the district. And as Pam mentioned earlier, on the social emotional learning front, which is kind of a newer term, but and a concept that's always been important is the whole ruler initiative. So, so not this past summer, the previous summer, myself and a team of teachers went to Yale for, I think it was a 3-day training. We came back, and last year we spent the year training the teachers on ruler, talking about how hard it is for even us as adults to talk about emotions. It was kind of interesting how hard it was to even come up with the words that describe emotions, and kind of talked about some staff norms, kind of as a kind of modeling for the teachers of what they'll do in their own class. So this year, not to jump too far ahead, but ruler is being rolled out to the students. And so they'll go through, so the teachers will take the kids through the same activities that we went through as a staff. So writing a classroom charter, we wrote a staff charter last year, which kind of just talks about how we want to feel when we're in school, or for the students when they're in school, the staff members in their workplace, and in order to feel that way, what they're going to do and what we hope others will do. So that will be rolling out with the students this year. So we also had, I mentioned earlier about the PTO mini grants, and sometimes the mini grants kind of have a cap as far as how much, I think they're about like $1,000 cap. So we had some teachers that were interested in flexible seating. They wrote a grant actually through Spalding, because Spalding tends to be able to support grants that are a little bit higher in dollars. So we did a grade 3 flexible seating pilot last year. It was a huge success, and we were really, really fortunate because with the state of the budget, and a new building potentially on the horizon, we don't really have new furniture in our budget. But our 5th grade that kind of lives underneath the PTO umbrella, as one of their class gifts, they donated. I want to say it was about 10 stand-up desks. So each 4th and 5th grade classroom has 2 stand-up desks that kids can use as an option, and it's a huge hit. Really kind of a game changer. And I was actually talking to my son, who's now in 7th grade, and I was talking to him last year about it, and he's like, "Wow, your school is so cool. We just have to sit there and not wiggle, and it's so hard, being an active boy." So that was kind of a neat class gift from the 5th graders to the 4th and 5th grade. So along the lines of student achievement, one of the things that we've been focusing on for a number of years is differentiating our instruction and really analyzing student performance data. And it's become really clear over the years that number sense and math facts are something that some kids just get, and other kids, it takes a different approach and takes maybe a little more effort. So we came across a program called Symphony Math, and we did a pilot. It's something I actually used at my last school, and we did a pilot with grade 1. And the data was just amazing. Basically, the way I describe it to people is if the kids go through this program, you're giving them the gift of number sense. And if kids have number sense when they get to the older grades, all of the more advanced math concepts just kind of fall into place. But if you get up there and you don't even 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and you don't know your math facts, it just slows everything down. So you're using your mental resources to recall or even figure out what 8 times 6 is instead of thinking about that higher level math concept. It is something that we had to prioritize in our budget and kind of shift some other things around. We kind of looked at some of the technology resources that weren't being as utilized as much as we would like, and we were able to shift some money so that we could expand to grade 2. So all grade 1 and 2 students have access to it. The teachers have set times throughout the week that the kids will will use it in class, but then the kids can also use it at home. And it's amazing to see the correlation between the amount of time that kids put into it and their graph of growth with their number sense. It's really, really, really powerful. So it's the sister program to Lexia, which is on the reading side of things that we've used for years. Let's see, so math enrichment. So we have a part-time teaching assistant that we have to do. She does math enrichment. It's called Math Explorers and Application. And basically what she does is she designs projects throughout the year and then goes out to try to find students who have a particular ability or interest in that type of a project. So it could be something that has to do with number sense, and that might be a certain group of kids, or it could be something like last year they did this whole project on designing a dream playground for the new school, and they were outside with measuring wheels and did everything to scale, and they created a budget, and they contacted playground equipment manufacturers to get rough prices and that sort of thing. So last year she was able to work with 147, I think she said, 147 students. So it's not always the same students. It's kind of, you know, when I first came here, there was a lot of talk about, you know, gifted and talented for students in math. And it's kind of, it's not the antithesis of that, but it's more kind of, we see that there are kids that have impressive ability in that area, but there are also kids that just, they have the passion. And so it's nice to be able to offer this to a wider range of students instead of, you know, kind of the traditional gifted and talented program that's 20 kind of selected students. So it's been really popular. But we had a private donation and also a Spalding grant for these Rockenbach education modules. So they are engineering projects that the kids work on, and there's all these cool building materials that go along with it. So it kind of ties in that the science and technology engineering aspect of things. So kind of along the lines of understanding our differences on the staff side, we have our Reaching All Learners professional development. So there are different populations of students with disabilities in our school that, you know, over the years maybe have grown, or we just want to learn more about, we want the staff to know more about. So last year the topic was students with on the autism spectrum disorder, and our sales staff who work with these students and are experts in ASD led workshops for the staff about, you know, kind of what ASD is, you know, what strategies typically work with these kind of students that have these challenges, but also have these other, you know, really amazing abilities that that you know, typically are overlooked. And so that's been really powerful for our staff to kind of be able to meet the needs of those students at a much higher level. Our science curriculum and our writing curriculum are two things that for a number of years teachers have, you know, kind of given the feedback that, you know, maybe we need to kind of look at things a little differently. So I'll actually start with the writing curriculum. So we use Write Steps. It was kind of a made for teachers by teachers kind of a program. We were really excited when we adopted it. When the teachers got the materials in hand and started doing the lessons, they kind of realized that it wasn't as polished as they would like and wasn't as rigorous in some areas as they would like. So an example is they have exemplars for a certain type of writing that they want the students to do. And when you looked at the exemplars, it's not what we would consider an exemplar in Manchester, Essex. So that's a program that we've wanted to look at for a while. So Julie Riley has formed an ELA curriculum task force to look at reading, but also writing. So we have 12 memorial teachers on that. There's a number from the middle school and a number from Essex Elementary as well. So they're going to look at you know, different options for a writing curriculum approach. And then the science curriculum, we have no Adam in the upper grades, and we've always kind of thought that we would move that to the lower grades. Something that's kind of evolved is that the middle school is using STEM scopes now, which is just a different approach. very current. And so we've kind of talked about maybe we need a K-8 perspective on science, so that you don't cross the bridge and all of a sudden have to learn things a new way. I know, like right now, the scientific method that we use in 3rd through 5th grade uses different terminology than the new program. So as a district, Manchester and Essex Elementary are going to be looking at STEM scopes and other programs, but to see, does it make sense to have a more, a more smooth continuum from K through 8 in science.
STEM scopes looked interesting when they came.
Yeah.
When,
That's right.
Millie,
Yes.
Kristen
Yeah.
and Millie
Who was
came.
that person?
Kristen
Christy
Millie.
Yeah.
She was awesome.
Middle
Yeah.
school?
High school.
High school.
High school.
High school.
But she was talking about, she was talking about
She's a 612 department chair.
dropping it
Oh,
down,
okay.
yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it makes sense, MCAS 2.0 was our first administration last year. We were kind of, I'll say medium adopters. We weren't the earliest adopters in the state, but it's not mandatory until this year to go all in on the technology side of things, and it definitely caused a lot of anxiety for people. How is this all going to work? Is the technology going to work? Are the kids going to be able to live in that world? I think in the back of my head, I kind of know that the kids already live there, maybe more than we do. So I kind of had faith that they would be okay with it. The scores are still embargoed, but I did have a peek at the preliminary scores, and they look really good. So I think the administration of it certainly was a success. Everything went really smoothly on the tech side, and it looks like I just wasn't sure what the output was going to be when they're used to maybe writing this way, but now they're writing this way, and it seems like it. We always have areas that we want to improve, but it seems pretty on par with what we're used to. So climate at the school, respect is another one of our core values. So we worked last year as a staff to set school-wide expectations for behavior, manners, respect, that sort of thing, and being really clear about, in the hallway, this is what's expected, in the restroom, this is what's expected at recess. The noise level that's acceptable in the classroom during a test is different than the noise level that's acceptable out at recess, for example. It's a work in progress. We had a great session with the staff coming up with the expectations, and then it's kind of okay. So now we have to do it, which is sometimes a little more challenging. But I have to say, the climate this year is just it's been amazing. So. Let's see. So I mentioned earlier just about the PTO enrichment programs, and I think something that I'm really proud of is over the years, that's really evolved to where it is now, where it really is a collaboration between the teachers and the parents, where the programs that are being brought in directly tie to the curriculum that the teachers are teaching, as opposed to in years past. It was more like, oh, this is a really cool thing, and the kids will really like it, but it really didn't have to do with what they were teaching in 5th grade, let's say. So if that's really cool and great, and the kids are going to love it, get a lot out of it, but it really relates to grade 3, let's work with the teachers to figure out where these different pieces fit. And the PTO has been awesome about asking our grade level leaders, what are you teaching? What would you like us to bring in to enhance? There are certain topics that we can teach really, really well on our own in the classroom, and there are other things that that just an outside group can bring in, I don't know, a shark to dissect or something that we wouldn't be able to do on our own. So, let's see.
Interesting choice.
Interesting choice of
We
an
might have our own shark
analogy.
What's that?
We might have our own shark soon.
Oh, okay.
They found one off Singing Beach, right?
Oh, is that right?
No.
No, that was a sunfish,
That was
Yeah.
selfish.
It was
a
from
couple times.
Don't look at
Easily
Facebook.
confused.
Yeah. Saw that on Facebook.
Similar
But it'll
fin,
clear up
different-
beach.
Oh, really?
Different mouth.
It did.
Actually, the reason I chose shark was my students at my last school had a Mira Vista type experience that they went to, and one of the things they did there was they dissected a shark, a baby shark, and I just was like, well, we could never do that in our, at that time, 6th grade classroom. And then we had this really cool end of the year activity. So it was the afternoon of field day. It was a human game show, which I was like, I don't really know what that's all about. But it was kind of like it was just like a game show, but it was on the turf, and they had these really exciting, dynamic hosts, and the kids had these different little challenges and that sort of thing that they did, and trivia, and it was really fun for the kids. It was super hot that day though, super hot. Let's see. So we talked about accepting our differences, and something we changed last year. We've been talking about this for years. So we have grade level musical performances. So each grade has a different performance. The K-pop tree in 2nd grade, obviously the play in 5th grade, the recorder concert, which has been changed to the ukulele concert, which
Oh, good God.
yeah, people were very excited to not have the recorders anymore. And if you talk to Sirka Natty, our music teacher, she had all kinds of reasons why the ukuleles are better. It's kind of an easier entry point for kids. They have more success with it, and can kind of lead to other instruments more so than recorders. Yeah, I don't hear a lot of professional recorder players, although I have heard one, and it's pretty impressive. So what happened was every year we'd have, the 2nd grade K-pop tree performance, and parents would want their older and younger siblings to go down to watch. Which is very understandable, but then the class, like let's say a 5th grade classroom's left with, 12 kids. So Sirka changed the whole model where the whole school came down. So all of the kids came down for each one of the musical performances, and then, typically just the parents from that grade came. The first one we weren't quite prepared logistically for, and then by the second one, where everyone's going to say, how are we going to dismiss? That was the big thing. We have a gymnasium full of people, and we needed to dismiss, but parents obviously wanted to take their kids with them, so we sorted all that out. But it was a nice way for the whole school to come together and celebrate the work of each grade level in the area of music. Community partnerships. So the school building project has been a huge piece of this. We've done a lot of community outreach, hosted building tours and community forums. We've held PTO information sessions, thanks to a lot of the members that are on the building committee. And we also had our school council information sessions where representatives from the building committee came and gave updates on the building, and people could kind of give input that way. So that was really, kind of a good way for us to get some community input on the design of the building at that point in the process. Sacred Heart Church has always been, one of our evacuation points. I think there was an agreement, but it was more formalized last year. So we took an administrative field trip over there to kind of walk the route that we would go, and had a tour of the 2 buildings that are there, and we were able to kind of strategize about, okay, so if we had to evacuate the whole school here, how would we do pickup? Where would the kids be housed, and that sort of thing. And then we also did a staff evacuation drill. So after school, we had all of the staff evacuate there, and it's interesting because it's not really like a direct route if you don't live here. We learned that if you went down one road, it kind of dumped you, right at like a really bad turn. So if you went one street over, it drops you, and you have to walk on the left-hand side. It puts you right at a crosswalk, so you can get right across safely. So, if you're walking over with 450 people, those little things can make a big difference. And it was nice to meet the staff over there, so we can have a face with the name. Let's see. So Parks and Rec, we've developed a really strong partnership over the years with them for before and after school programming, both daycare but also enrichment activities. And then they had a need from parents to have an extended day during the summertime, an extended day program. So summer playground, runs from, I think, about 8 to 12 at the school, and there were people that needed an extended day in the afternoon. And it's a little tricky because in the summer we kind of turn the school upside down and polish everything up and put it back where it was. But we were able to, through our facilities department, work with Parks and Rec and make sure that they had a place where they could come and they could eat lunch and they could have activities in the gym and movies on rainy days and that kind of a thing. So that worked out really well. So resources, I think I mentioned it before, but the big thing really, the big focus has been the MSBA project. So getting feedback from staff and from families along the process. We took a tour of the new school up in Gloucester, and that was really helpful to actually see kind of what people are describing. But really, as far as facilities go, we're kind of in a holding pattern. We're doing the things that we need to do. I can't even tell you how excited I am that the footbridge is open. I don't know what it was.
You and me both.
I know. I know. I don't know what it was about. It just got like we kind of felt cut off, and you drove by and saw those do not enter signs and the caution tape, and it just feels like everything flows better now. The kids that are coming to school that way, they go over the bridge, and it's just a lot less stressful. And then the roof obviously we know is an issue.
You're not sleeping up there.
Yeah, no.
No tent.
They did a number of kind of spot repairs over the summer, and we had obviously some pretty hard rain today, and we had one little tiny leak in the corner of the gym. I have video from the gym from last year where it was like a waterfall. So the repairs that they did, I think certainly helped for now.
Can you give us a little bit more on the repairs, or should we wait for Avi to get that? Just do you know how many spots we were hitting?
I don't. I know last year in the spring there's a material kind of like tar that they were able to paint on a certain section, so over the cafeteria. But what happens is they would do that, and then the water would just kind of make its way down to the next place. So I think there were two big sections that they painted that way. I think the roof of the gym was maybe one of the other places that they did that, and then there was some kind of spot. That was all in-house. They did do some work with a roofing contractor. Did some more extensive repair work, but he would be better to ask about the exact details.
Great.
I
Numbers.
think it was seam repair, right?
So, yeah, I think there's still more, but yeah, we had actually
enough to make it livable.
Yeah,
there was no structural improvement to it.
It would be nice to know what the cost was on that and how extensive it was.
You get that from Avi.
As soon as we can get that, that'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, we came in last year one morning, and there was a piece of the rubber roof about the size of that screen that had just blown right off.
Cool.
So they had to.
I can remember years of looking out that window and seeing something blowing in the wind. And I don't know, I think it was a piece of roofing,
Yeah.
but, in the meantime, we've nailed it down, but
Yeah.
that is a problematic roof. Yeah.
It is,
Okay.
yeah. And then, this summer, grounds maintenance has always been a challenge. I think a staffing challenge, manpower, the machines break, that kind of thing. We have a new maintenance guy that took over the grounds, and they were they were maintaining the best that I have ever seen. So the mowing and the weed whacking, and it just, school should look presentable even in the summertime, especially with the number of programs that we have there in the summertime. So I was happy about that. So looking to this year, I mentioned a few of these things, but as a district, we're going to look into science programming for K-8 alignment, STEM scopes being one that we'll certainly start by looking at, then also evaluating the writing program. And the ELA committee work is vast. It's going to take a number of years. But it's going to be great. There are a lot of great things that are happening in all three schools. If we think of K-8 in the area of ELA, and being more consistent about that, I think is going to only help the kids when they get to sixth grade. So we're expanding the flexible seating to grades 4 and 5. School spirit is something that that we have kind of on the topic for the year. So continuing to kind of find those enrichment and character education programs that just kind of bring learning to life for the kids. The fun run, the kids are really excited about it. The teachers are really excited about it. And I know a lot of the parents are as well. And hopefully being able to bring back Rob Surratt, the hero artist. He was here a couple of years ago. He was in Georgetown, where I lived last year, and my kids still talk about it. I mean, it's just like the most amazing thing.
Is that the upside down guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
The big paintings. Yeah. Let's see. So, I'll try to give you the abridged version of this, but rekindling the Japanese sister school relationship. So the abridged version is we had an election, things changed, the ambassador is new. The kind of sister school relationship was Caroline Kennedy's kind of her idea, her baby, and coincidentally at the same time they had a change in leadership at the school. So they have a new principal who started last year. And things kind of just fell radio silent. Right before the opening of school, I randomly got an email from a teacher who used to work there. He was their English teacher. He's from the United States. He was emailing me to say that he's no longer there, that he moved to Seattle, and he's working there, but he was able to give me a little bit of information about kind of why things broke down. One was the new principal. And so he felt like the relationship between the school could be rekindled, but we'd have to start at scratch, because the principal didn't know anything about it, But then the sister city relationship, it sounds like got kind of tied up in bureaucracy here and there, and it sounds like they were very frustrated that it wasn't. They wanted it to like move faster with that sister city relationship, and it was going to be Cape Ann, not just the city, not just Manchester, Essex. So anyway, so I started by emailing the principal and kind of getting her up to speed, and we've kind of been going back and forth, and now a couple of teachers have been communicating. So I think we'll get that back up and running. But it was interesting how it kind of all evolved. So it's about time for us to do a staff and parent survey to get ideas as far as what people think are going really well and what areas we could work on to improve. Ruler is going to be rolled out to the students. I feel like I've kind of already gone through all this, so I apologize. And then, I think the challenge for me in the coming years, depending on the direction of the building project, is to continue that trajectory of progress, but understanding that some things may need to slow down, other things we can kind of keep moving with. And to steal a phrase from Pam from a few years ago, and I forget what was going on at that time, but Pam talked to the district staff about bending like a willow, and I think certainly if things go in the direction of a new building, there's going to be a lot of bending like a willow. It's funny when I talk to people outside of Manchester, Essex, I'm like, now where's the school going, and how's that going to happen?
Right there.
But we're up for the challenge, and it's just going to be different for a couple of years. But I don't want the next 3 years to be stagnant because we're building a new building, because those 3 years are 3 really important years of elementary school education for a lot of kids. So we want to make sure that we're still kind of moving along.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you. Thanks.
What about traffic light repair?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you for asking.
No, because I was waiting for you to chime in
You were
on
looking
that.
at us already, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they could, I don't know if that gets baked into the new building project if that happens, or.
So we have a new DPW director. So I reached out to him to ask if he would have some time to come by just to kind of take a look at it, so I could explain the history behind that traffic light. I don't know exactly what the solution is. We had talked about getting rid of that crosswalk, since we have the new Safe Routes to School crosswalk, and having like a hard curb there instead of a curb cut. But I was actually on vacation when they did the paving, and I came back and there's a curb cut there. So
You can't leave.
I know. So I don't know if
Right?
it's possible to fix the light, or
He had a whole crosswalk plan
Okay.
that he wanted to implement that got backburnered.
Okay.
So
Right.
I think there's still a second opportunity.
Okay.
Because he wanted to do raised, and he had a whole really nice plan that was very
Yep.
considerate of our needs.
So it has been noticeable, just the crosswalk visibility. I'm not sure if it's, the Bike and Pedestrian Committee's work or who, but this year, driving in on the first couple of days of school, the crosswalks were much more visible. They have signs, right in the middle of the street. Yeah, I mean, it was noticeable. So I think that will help. But that area still is a little tricky there.
Just, can I ask a couple questions?
Absolutely.
Can you
Let's open it
please
up to
talk
questions.
to about the areas of concern, because we asked Jennifer also about any resource needs that she had, so I wonder if you could just articulate what those are and.
Yeah. So I've had the additional reading and math specialist position on here for a number of years. We did a small piece with the math tutor who works on the enrichment projects with the kids. I think if we had additional reading specialists and also, or even a additional reading specialist and a additional math specialist, we could do more of the enrichment. We might be able to reach more students. So with our reading staff, we're running a very tight ship where there really is no wiggle room. So we have hypothetically, if we were to have a student come in that needed something more than what the 4th grade RTI services are, we don't have an option for that. So in other words, if we had a student who moved in to school and let's say was a 5th grade student but reading at a 1st grade level, our 5th grade RTI interventions would be far too high for that student. And so we don't have any wiggle room there where we could say, okay, well, you're going to work with this student and try to get them up to the level of the regular RTI groups, then integrate them into a regular RTI group, and then eventually integrate them into the whole class instruction. So we're just, if you look at their schedule, they have a 30-minute lunch and a 45-minute prep, and they're booked solid all of the rest of the day. So we can make it work, but we can't do anything outside of what we're doing right now. So that's something, like I said, has been on there for a while. We do have, I think next year we may have some, we may need less classroom positions based on our current enrollment and a big 5th grade class leaving. So that might help a little bit. But I know there are also needs in Essex, needs at the middle school and the high school, and every time we send up a big group, they come here. So
yeah, but you've had them. I know. I've been jumping up and down about the math specialists at Memorial for a bunch of years, so I know that that's a big need.
And we were, like I said, we were able to take a reading teaching assistant that we needed when our numbers were so big and redeploy that money for the math enrichment. But she's only 0.8, so she's here,
Right, and that's enrichment. That's not, capturing an example that you might have just described.
Yep, exactly.
That's why those attrition positions are so frustrating, because there's not a face who's losing a position, but all of our big game plan of how to move all of those positions around to not grow the budget, but get more services.
Losing that flexibility.
Yeah.
Caroline?
Just a question about ruler, and so we've been presented here, so we kind of get the whole color for blah, blah, blah. So my question about how does that work in elementary school, because I thought, and I could be wrong, but I thought years ago we were trying to move away from like the behavior chart on the wall saying, Johnny, you're not performing, and that's not how it was, but like we were moved up and down, and it was just more. So how does that work? I get in middle school and high school where kids can kind of identify with how they feel more than in elementary school. So how does that translate there, that it's not like a behavior chart on the wall where a kid, it affects their self-esteem? Or does that make sense at all?
Well, I know at central office they have one posted, and they put their sticky notes on where they're feeling. For us, I think it's more a tool to teach the kids the language. That's something that just became really obvious to us as adults. We would watch a video clip and then say, okay, to the staff, okay, so describe how this person's feeling. And it was funny, like, it's hard to come up with feeling words. Somebody would say, like, well, that's not actually a feeling. So I think the language and the terminology and getting kids to start talking about how they're feeling.
Okay, so it's more of a language thing versus a chart on the wall and the teacher saying you are.
Yeah. I don't think at the elementary level there's going to be a big focus on, well, my energy level's high, but
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? It's
Two in the
more
yellow.
just, you know, these feelings, these emotions are similar, these feelings are similar.
Okay.
You know, they're all typical, you know, it's typical to feel frustrated or stressed and happy, and
And even
so-
at the middle high school, it's for the self-awareness, not that the teacher's charting everybody.
Okay. We don't chart them anymore at elementary school, do we? In the class, do teachers have those?
on the, no,
The wall,
no.
you know.
Kids might have individual behavior plans, you
Mhm.
know, in their desk or that sort of thing through their IEP, but no, for the most of the teachers use Class Dojo, which is an app where the teacher can give positive points when their kids are doing certain things, and it's when they push the button, it's
Yeah.
like the whole class hears this positive noise, but you don't really know who it's
Who
going
got it.
to.
Okay.
And then the kids can check later on to see, oh, I got 3 points today, you know. But no, we don't have charts
Okay.
with any of
Yeah, and
that.
think self-awareness with ruler, like it's helping
Okay.
give language to them, so a student doesn't come in and act out because they're frustrated, but learns to express that they're frustrated, so
Okay.
that the teacher's aware.
Okay.
And it's good for the teachers
good
too,
clarification
and
for
myself, I mean, staff in general, to be able to recognize, well, you know what, like that's how this person's feeling today, and we might need to take a different approach. You know, we might need to teach things a different way. You know, maybe I had this really, you know, high energy lesson planned, but the kind of the emotional place that everybody in my class is in right now, really, that's not a good match. So they do talk about different learning activities that match with different types of emotional states, so they can kind of adjust their teaching based on,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
the state of the room.
Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah. No, Adam, is that on its way out?
It's a mixed bag. I think there are a lot of positives to it. It does a really nice job of delivering the standards in a hands-on, meaningful, project-based way.
Yeah.
I have some issues with it. The readability of the text is much higher than what most kids in that particular grade can handle.
Yeah.
And we've given them that feedback because other programs offer leveled readers where kids can read the same content at their own level. They haven't really been able to respond to that yet. And also from a budgetary standpoint, the way their purchasing is set up, if I have 24 students in a class, I'll say a grade, if I have 24 students in a class, or in a grade rather, they only sell kits in certain sizes.
Yeah.
So I might have to buy 30 kits
Right.
to get that one extra kit that I need.
Yeah.
And I've given them that feedback. They're a small company. They're not, you know, they're not this massive. They literally deliver the materials in a van. It's not like that they ship these kits, you know, via
Yeah.
UPS. You know, so from my perspective, you know, I don't want to buy 6 extra kits when I only need 1.
Yeah.
But the other side of it is, if you know 6 through 8 is using something that doesn't align, then we have to take a look at it.
So, just, I mean, I'm assuming that you and Jennifer are, the curriculum choices are the same.
Yes.
So Right Steps is being implemented at Essex Elementary.
Yep.
They're looking at STEM scopes as well, so you guys are aligning.
Yeah, it's all
Great.
coordinated by Julie.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good to hear. Thank you.
Great. Yeah. No problem.
Anyone else? I have a question on math.
Okay.
So, the Symphony Math you mentioned, is that
Yeah.
replacing everyday math?
No. So Symphony Math is an online tool.
Why are you smiling at me?
Math wars.
I can't fight that battle. I lose in math wars.
So Symphony Math is an online tool. It's only number sense.
Okay.
So there's no geometry, you know, graphing. It's just building number sense, so understanding what the value of a number is, and then it gets into the computation, so that by the end they know their basic facts inside and out. It's really a supplement to everyday math. One of the knocks on everyday math is that the mastery of math facts works for some kids, but not for all. So it's kind of a nice companion to it. They're not related at all, but It really is amazing. I had my daughter go through it, and I actually sat with her while she did it so I could see what it looks like on her end, and it was really helpful to see, some of the things that she had a hard time with. It has a timer.
So it's
and
like a computer game.
yeah, it's a computer program, yeah. So there's a timer, and she's very anxious, and so she could.
Be the name.
Seriously, no, this is Olivia. Yeah. And so when she would see the timer, you could see like she was on the trackpad, like going all over the place, and she would never select an answer. And so then I would cover the timer with a sticky note, and she was like just cruising right through, So that was helpful to be able to talk to the teachers about, if you have a child like this, this might be something that helps. But I mean, it really is amazing. I mean, the kids, they come out of the program really, and it's self-paced. So some kids fly through it in a couple of weeks, and other kids it takes a little bit longer. It self-adjusts. So based on how they perform, it will drop them back or kick them ahead. So yeah, it's pretty neat.
That's great that the
Yeah.
kids have that. And one last question, math related.
Yeah.
Don't say anything. The math enrichment program. So it sounds like what you were describing was not a gifted, but targeting the kids who have an affinity for it, a passion for it, whatever.
Yep.
What about kids who might not have an affinity for it, or might not have a passion for it, but have an affinity for it, but they just don't know it yet?
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
Does this?
I forgot to say that.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot to say that, but when.
So this hugs them as well.
Yeah, so
Okay.
when Robin Rogers Brown is the teacher, the tutor that does this, when she goes to Lori Cole-Poise, let's say, those are the things that she asks. She's,
Okay.
Here's the project. Is there somebody in your class that would be really good at this, but A, doesn't know it or isn't confident enough to, raise their hand? Or is there somebody that will just eat this up because, they just love number problems or whatever it is? Or is it just, maybe the skill wouldn't be qualified as gifted, but they're really interested in it, So yeah, that's definitely, that's how we hit 147 kids.
Yeah, well, that's a big number.
Yeah, instead of,
Yeah.
like I said, instead of just 20, so.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like Memorial's a really super special place still,
you.
and even
Thank
more
you.
special than when my kids were there, so.
It does, I have one.
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
yeah.
Go, Sarah.
It sounds awesome. Everything you're doing sounds awesome.
Thank you.
I know we don't really want to talk about the gorilla suit, but since it came up, I
Yeah.
feel like I have to. And I totally get the perspective of that you have this cool, fun, spirit-raising program, which
Yeah.
sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And as the former enrichment coordinator for the PTO for 3 years,
Yeah.
I totally get the PTO's position of wanting to do this fundraising thing.
Yeah.
I think that now that it's come out a little bit, I think the gorilla suit might be offensive to some people.
Okay.
And I think the taping to the flagpole may be offensive to some people. And therefore, I think perhaps an alternate,
Hornet suit?
exciting, principal, embarrassing situation might be explored.
We can come up with a bunch, okay?
We can brainstorm that.
The taping to the wall is interesting because you're elevated apparently.
Yes.
I know
That
the
was the
taping is
plan.
done sometimes. I
That was the plan.
I have to say, I had in my head, like, it's one thing to tape Mr. Willis to a wall, but what if it was me? Like, what if I was the principal and I'm up there and I'm a woman and I'm getting taped to the wall? And I just feel.
Some do it.
There is a point, some of this.
Do you know what? Just because other people are doing it doesn't mean we should.
I just have to say, went through similar with the pie in the face challenge thing, and I was completely out of my mind, apprehensive and out of my comfort zone, and it was done with enough respect for what it was, the meaning and where it was and all the rest, and the people came were like, hey, it's all in-house managed, and I'm sure having seen.
Yeah, but nobody kidnaps somebody and
This
throws a
isn't-
pie
this
in their
isn't
face.
kidnapping. This is a voluntary, yeah, but this is, regardless of
Just
what it is.
shave your head and be done with it. It's all
Yeah, it's
good.
great.
I guess what I envisioned when I agreed to it very, very reluctantly.
I totally understand agreeing
Very
to something in the
reluctant.
spur of a moment when a cute 8-year-old
Well,
asks you to
it could
do
be
it.
even, one thing, just as a suggestion, they do have Velcro walls and Velcro suits, that could be even more entertaining.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I had
Sumo,
kind of pictured
you
like
and
waving
Pam.
to the kids as they came in at arrival time,
Yeah.
It definitely was, like I said, it is not my cup of tea at all, but,
I agree with Sarah, and I
Yeah.
do think maybe you should take the initiative and do something. I can just see like a news, just somebody picking this up, and just in this climate.
It's already been picked up.
It might be,
So,
well, outside of the area.
yes.
I would encourage you to,
But,
Get it to the Boston.
yeah.
but I would
Okay,
also
good joke.
stick with the understanding the going outside your comfort zone, encouraging that,
It is very important.
Yes.
leading even when it's
Is
uncomfortable.
it the gorilla suit? or
Yeah,
the-
I think the
It's-
gorilla suit and the taping to a
I
flagpole.
think the gorilla is culturally insensitive, and I think it's actually I got a text already about the flagpole being the flagpole, we fly our national flag, very important to a lot of people. So that's also sort of a symbolic.
As we were just sitting here, I've gotten a text myself already.
Well,
so.
I was thinking about the poles that
It's
hold
funny.
up the front.
Listen, I am
entryway
more
to
than
school.
happy to
Just wear your clothes
not,
backwards for a day or
you know?
something.
I mean, one of them was to color my hair was another idea, but.
Yeah.
That,
I just think people are really sensitive, and I think, sometimes we do things and we think, oh, it's no big deal, but then we don't realize who's sort of tapping into that and maybe taking it and seeing it in a different way, or taking it and,
well, again, using ruler. How are people feeling? How are
Yeah.
we
But
recognizing
that
that?
said, I suspect the curriculum and all the rest, there are some people that are going to be feeling left out or negative about it, regardless of if you're handing out free money to all the students and to everybody in the school. So.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a 1-year try. You
Yeah.
guys are trying it. You've
Yeah.
tweaked it for how it works for your school. There's more tweaking to be done. Maybe it comes back, maybe it doesn't, It's
Yeah.
all,
Maybe it's
it's all
wildly
about
successful.
trying new things, and that's also outside of the comfort zone,
Yep.
is trying this, so.
I think more importantly for me is you have to be comfortable, your person, like how you, I just want you to be comfortable with
Yeah,
whatever you.
I think like, the pie in the face and the dunk tank, I don't know, that just, I don't know, for whatever reason that felt less bad than this feels.
Yeah.
But, I kind of just had to say to myself, it's for the kids, and, but I did pause when the gorilla suit was mentioned. I'm like, okay, like, is there any, like, is this, culturally insensitive? And I just,
Explaining that
Feel
in the
that way.
moment to an 8-year-old, I get it.
Yeah.
Like, that
Yeah.
wasn't
Why
the,
didn't you even think of
Well, part of it,
who knows?
so just,
Who
can I,
knows?
a little bit of background, there is a famous psychology study, if anybody's ever seen it, with people dribbling a basketball and somebody wearing a gorilla suit coming in the middle and jumping on it.
oh yeah, you don't see it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you don't see people, like 80% of the people don't see the gorilla because they're told, count how many bounces the people in white make.
Yeah,
And they
I
completely miss
Failed
that.
that, I failed that
So-
several times.
okay, so we're
So
getting
there is
into
a
a bit
meme
of
out
a
there
rabbit
already.
hole
Yeah.
there.
I just want
Somebody
to give
else.
him a pat on the back
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he's trying to be spiritful. This isn't
Agreed.
really that, it's more common than we may understand in our community that this type of activity goes on all over the place.
Yes, agreed.
He has been encouraged for years to go wild. So the poor guy
I
goes
haven't been dressed
wild and
down on
now.
Fridays.
Yeah.
I think you should dress down
So
on
I
Friday.
think it's good
Yeah,
feedback
that should
on
be-
how people are
that'll be-
reacting
yeah.
to some of the symbolism in it.
Yeah.
But I got some nice videos here of how you can get elevated to the wall if you want.
Yeah, I think you should get the Velcro suit and jump off a trampoline and go into the wall.
Just make sure it's a structurally sound wall.
Yeah, oh God.
Don't do it
Don't
on
jump
Don't sit on one of those glass
Enough
walls.
memorial. Yeah.
Anyway, so thank you, John.
Thank you,
Yeah.
John.
Yes, really.
Yes.
I mean, I would be happy to, I would appreciate guidance, maybe offline,
Yeah.
on other, I did not think it was.
And no one here thinks you were ever setting out to offend anybody.
Yeah, no.
That's
Absolutely not.
yeah,
And
no.
we really don't want to
Yeah.
micromanage
No,
your
no,
situation.
yeah.
It's just
No.
that I.
Like I said, I'm
like I had
happy
that
to
one.
sneak out of that one.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Good
you
luck
guys.
on your
Very much.
fundraiser.
Thank you.
Great
job.
goals, great
And I wanted to say one other
accomplishments.
thing. PTOs do awesome work for our schools.
They do.
And I don't want us to lose sight of that
Hmm.
because we rely on those funds and we rely on those people, and those people often become school committee members.
They
Mhm.
do.
So,
How many
um,
former PTO people are here? A couple.
yeah, so thank you.
We
Thank
also
them.
rely
Falling
on
in
that
the
for
school
leading
councils,
communities.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
We have them all covered. All right, well, thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Okay. Goals. I think we are pretty much done on this. The only,
There's a
There's a typo.
support implementation
I know, that's
programming.
what
is-
I know.
was going
So
there.
Okay, good.
I have made some notes from our prep conversations.
Yes.
And then I decided I would like Annie to write all of the corrections down on one piece of paper and hand it to me at the end, and we can edit it.
Great.
Can I tell you something? Gail
Had it right.
Already had it right in the
Yep.
minutes. The
Okay.
minutes are exactly what they should be.
Oh, Gail.
And that's
Yeah.
what I said in our prep meeting.
You did say that, I forgot that.
Yep.
Okay, go to Gail's meetings.
Yeah,
Yep.
so
So-
just, it's like the source.
Yeah,
Just
go to Gail.
Yay, Gail.
Whatever Gail had,
GTG.
go to Gail.
Minus the joke.
Yeah.
Do we need to approve these? Do we need a motion to approve these?
idea for you to put in
So moved?
Second.
Yeah.
Do we need one though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motion to approve?
Move to approve?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Those
Thank
opposed?
you.
Okay, passes. We're done with the go to Gail version.
Sorry, Pam.
No, that, I can copy and
Watch
paste
your back,
on that.
Pam.
Schedule's
I know, right?
I'll give up any and all editing responsibilities
Yeah, right?
forever.
Thank you.
I got it.
Thank you,
All
Karen.
right,
Welcome.
okay. Schedule.
Just confirming the schedule for the year.
Mhm.
The first semester is up on the agenda page. So you know how last year we had the agenda listed on one side and then the preview on the other. Check it on your different devices, because on my screen, it's looking okay, but on your screen, it may not be.
It was a little
So-
wonky. But it was understandable. I think maybe I was just being type A about it.
So like I said, the only thing, and we may not even need to decide this tonight, is that I targeted April 9th as a key date in the spring, but April and May it gets a little funky with the vacations. So I think we can probably have it ready for committee review and approval on April 1st.
Wait, April 9.
I'm sorry.
The budget?
You're not reading my mind? I'm talking about the META contract language.
Oh, yeah.
So
you
in
don't-
my goals, I've scheduled April 9th
Okay.
as the date on which the school committee would review the complete contract language. But that's the executive session review and tentative approval that then goes out for ratification. So we don't do it in open session, so we could do it on April 1st. I'll just amend my goals and try to communicate to the bigger group that that's our target date, and then that gives them about 2 weeks to get it ratified before our next meeting.
Okay.
That way
There was
we wouldn't have to
something,
add a
this is
meeting.
gonna be annoyingly vague, but there was something in all the reading I did for tonight's meeting that was a date coming up soon. That was just the date and not the time. And
Town
I didn't
meeting.
bring my computer with me, and now I can't remember what it was. It's not, it wouldn't be on this, it was like something specific.
Town meeting
I'll have to look when I get home.
on April 15th? I mean,
No.
October 15th?
No, those are already in my calendar,
The community meetings?
in my calendar. I'll look when I get home.
Hmm.
And email you. Are you going to schedule a business meeting before town meeting?
We typically try to get together at like 5:30.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You don't think you can get a second banner? Because that was the only.
It
can
just, I have
actually-
to see how much they cost. I mean, yeah, it was the parent has offered to fund it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's only good if there's,
Okay,
I'm just telling you.
okay.
Where do you want the second one hung?
Probably at
Actually,
Richdale's.
they
I
were
mean, in my
having-
email to them, I did say, we also looking for Richdale's if we could get to, but.
Town Hall was suggested as a possible place for you to hang it. I mean, put it out there.
Okay.
Pam,
Yeah.
can we go back to the October 16? You said we're going to do a business meeting at 5:30?
April 1st.
Oh, that town meeting.
Yep,
Yeah.
those two town meetings.
Okay.
I wasn't even thinking about that. We could meet before the October 16th meeting if we felt we needed to.
Do we need to?
When I did this, the only thing that in my head was we may be just straight out
Yeah.
that week and scattered, and
Yeah. Another meeting
the only
is-
topic we'll really want to discuss is probably going to be the building. So we can certainly post if we need to get together ahead of it for anything.
Well, we can decide that as we get closer. I
Yep.
don't think we need to. We'll see.
But I
know I
scheduled around
missed
it.
a meeting. Did you guys talk about start time for everything for this year?
No.
No, we have not discussed it.
School committee comment?
It's actually, it's in the parking lot. Meetings start times.
How do we deal with the parking lot?
She's the parking lot attendant.
Does anybody, if things come up a lot, I'm just gonna keep track of how often they
And
come up.
Maybe we can talk about them in school committee comment.
And then we'll,
Your
yes.
parking lot reminds me, did people notice the school start time thread in the MASC school committee
Mhm.
listserv
Oh, no.
thing.
No.
There's a lot of comment about it, and also several places where we can go to find the research that other schools use to make decisions.
If anybody's gonna go to the MASC conference, I saw that they're having a session on
saw that.
start times
They
too.
please start studying in Hyannis. I might consider.
I know, it's
I
a
know,
little
it's my
tricky, the
son's
dates and
birthday.
times are very tricky.
That's just.
I might
really
try to
heavy
go for
lift.
one day of it, but,
Thank you.
all
Let
right.
me know if you need Shelley to do your registration for you.
Thank you.
I can't imagine a
I'll
place that they could
self-register
pick that
if
is
I-
less central to most people in this state than
I know.
Hyannis.
It's just, I think it's just an old holdover from back in the day. We have all of our MASS stuff down there too, there or in Marlboro.
Oh, God.
Marlboro's at least, you can
Marlboro's
make the
central.
argument in
Better.
the middle, but
Hyannis is not central for anybody except people who live in Hyannis.
Actually, something I have on, in the parking lot was, I think we did a really good job leaving all the questions to the end of the presentation tonight. Maybe we need to be careful about having too much discussion if we have a lot of public comment people. I don't know.
Yeah, we usually don't go
45
back and forth.
Yeah, that's a little, so something to talk about maybe, or think
Okay.
about. I think you're doing a great job, Shannon.
Excellent job leading.
Sometimes
Yes.
you just have to like talk it through, and I
Yeah.
think that
And that's-
there was an effective discussion. I think that person left with a better understanding of where we were.
I hope so. All right, anybody else for school committee comment? May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Second?
Second. Why not?
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
I'm going to ask who is opposed.